You're listening to Civic from the San Francisco Public Press. As a holiday approaches that often involves a lot of boxes, we'll take you back to our ride-along with a sanitation worker hauling away the city's recycling. And yes, all of that pandemic cardboard is making his job harder.
I guess part of this job, it's like no matter what happens, it's like a pandemic, a natural disaster, anything that we're going to be at work the next day, you know, like if we went a week without picking up garbage here in the city, you'd want to talk about a pandemic. It'd be really crazy.
I'm Laura Wennis, and this is Civic. Today's show is about recycling, and it is itself recycled. We're combining material for this episode from two stories that were produced in April and June of 2021. We're revisiting them now because it seems relevant, given the amount of cardboard and packaging about to land in our collective blue bins. But here's a heads up that several months have passed since these interviews first aired. Okay, let's go. Our story begins in the dark, chilly, early morning hours in a residential neighborhood in San Francisco. It's a little before 5 a.m. when Gareth Willey pulls up in his Recology recycling truck at the street corner where I've been told to meet him.
Yeah. How you doing?
This is Gareth. Nice to meet you. So she'll be riding along with you.
I'm going for a ride-along to get a sense of what a sanitation worker's day is like and what's changed during the pandemic. It's chilly and it's still dark, but Gareth is working up a sweat. He literally runs from bin to bin, rolls them up to the lifter arms, and then works the levers that tip the bins into the truck.
Really fast.
What's that?
I'm sure the novelty wears off incredibly fast when you do this for your job, but this is extremely cool.
I don't know. Hey, some days you're like, I can't believe I'm doing this, but it is fun. Like, I don't know. I like to work out.
Yeah, you've got to be in incredible shape. I mean, Jesus, you're just like running half the time.
Yeah, I don't know. Not everyone runs. I like to run. I kind of just like to take the attitude that get it done and go home. Like, you know, a lot of guys, you know, they'll take their time and be out here a little while, but I'd just rather just get it over and go home.
Yeah.
After his shift is up, I talk with Gareth and with union organizer Robert Sandoval, business representative for Teamsters Local 350.
Normal day, I wake up at about 12:30, and, you know, it's not by choice. I don't want to wake up at 12:30, but that's the only real way that we can come in and do this. But wake up at 12:30, I get here about 1:45, and you know, start my truck, do my inspection of my truck.
How long's your commute?
Like 35 minutes. So, you know, get my truck ready, do whatever I got to do, and then I roll out here about 2:15, get to the route about 2:30, and usually, you know, most days I'm done before 7 on the route. Drive in and, you know, dump my truck and then park and then get out of here. Like, I try to be in and out as quick as I can.
Gareth is fast. He's even got this routine where he keeps a hand on the lid of the bins just long enough so that the recycling doesn't fly out as the lid starts to open. But with most of the bins that I see him handle filled to bursting and beyond, that doesn't always work out. Several times each block, a cloud of paper, cardboard, and plastic flies out, and he has to pick up and toss the pieces back into the truck. That's one of the main things that he saw change when coronavirus shut down the city. Mail order boxes. Masses of cardboard.
The sheer volume of the material we were picking up, I mean, it's still really, really rough out there right now, but the first 3-4 months were just brutal. It was overwhelming. I mean, it's tough. Like, every time you open a door and you look down the hallway and you just see a mountain of material, and you're like, I got to get that out to the street and get that sorted out. It was it was like a kick in the stomach every time you open the door and look down. It was brutal, and I think I think there was a lot of people a lot of the people on other routes have a lot of like businesses on their routes, and I think that, well, obviously with them being shut down, they didn't have to worry about that, so it maybe kind of offset some of the the residential areas where it was a lot heavier. But yeah, in the residential areas, it was tough. Like, I don't know if you remember at the start of the pandemic, Amazon were just completely overwhelmed. Like, they were all backed up. Well, we were the ones picking up all those boxes, and it was tough.
And people are still getting stuff delivered, right?
Yeah. There's still a lot of boxes out there that need picked up. So
yeah, it was like a huge. So it definitely changed. Like he was saying, the commercial side, usually there's a lot of business downtown, and the residential, but because the businesses were closed and everybody's home, that residential material just skyrocketed because everybody's ordering from Amazon, ordering to go, DoorDash and all that stuff, and all that material just shot through the roof. So these guys basically got the brunt of it all, picking up all the residential stuff, but it's slowly starting to come back, it seems like, right? Yeah.
Office trash again, yay!
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Actually, so the other thing that I'm wondering is everybody that I know has been talking about, frankly, how much more they've been drinking because of the pandemic. Have you noticed, like, more bottles?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there was a lot of noise, Yeah. No, like, I guess you learn this being a garbage man, but some of the times you look at people's cans, you're like, you got problems, There's a lot of, empty alcoholic beverage containers.
Are you telling me that the people who pick up the trash are, like, definitely judging me?
I don't know, maybe.
This is not a reassuring answer. Thanks so much. Still, Gareth says the cardboard is the real menace.
Yeah, all the cardboard is basically like the biggest challenge for the most part, just getting it all to go in the truck. Yeah, it's the cardboard that's killing us right now. It just makes this job so much more difficult. It's not all this bad. This part right here is pretty bad, but.
And you said it wasn't that bad before COVID?
No. It was much worse at one time. At the start of the pandemic, it was much worse, but it's still pretty bad right now.
Because people get all sorts of stuff delivered, or what?
It's all Amazon boxes.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. There's a lot of boxes. I don't know where they're all coming from, but I would assume Amazon. Yeah, it's not as bad when it's out in the street like that, but it's a lot more frustrating when it's inside. Some of like Monday, the majority of the customers that pick up are inside and have to use keys to go inside. So it's especially frustrating when you get in there and you just see the cans are piled up to the ceiling.
On the flip side, so many people working from home has meant traffic calmed down a lot. And traffic is a problem when you're driving a massive garbage truck in and out of residential streets.
Yeah, it's like it's every day is just a grind. I'm trying to beat traffic because it just gets, after this time it just gets worse and worse, and it gets more and more difficult to do the job. Today's one of the that's one of the quietest streets, that one I met you up on. I mean, there is some traffic, especially on the side streets, but it's not like unbearable. But pretty much the rest of my route is it's like a war zone, It's like, and unfortunately, like I think a lot of the residents here, they don't understand why we're here so early. We make a lot of noise. We try really hard not to, but unfortunately, like, we make a whole ton of noise, and I know we're doing our best.
What does traffic really mean for you? Because it's not just that, like, you're stuck in it. It's more you can't go certain places when there's traffic.
Yeah, like a lot of the areas on my route, after 6:30, 7 o'clock, you can barely drive there. It's gridlocked. So I mean, the minute you stop the truck, they all just fly around you, and then you're not getting back in. No one's gonna let you in. you know, like a lot of the areas I'll work both sides of the street, you know, to be quicker and not have to make all these turns and go through all these, you know, blocks and alleys. And you just can't do that after a certain time. Yeah, I mean, after, you know, in certain areas, it can't, like I think I said before, it's terrifying. Even, you know, being out there with a truck, yeah, it's, you know, people are flying by you, they're screaming at you because you're blocking the street. Yeah, so traffic, you know, I'm just trying to avoid it at all costs. So, I mean, that's, I mean, like I said, I don't wake up at 12:30 in the morning by choice. Like, I wouldn't do it if I didn't have to do it.
Drivers aren't the only traffic he has to contend with, though. Cyclists are another worry, and some of them are out early, too.
It used to be this street, I could come, you know, theoretically, you could get this at any time of the day. There'd be a lot of bicyclists, but now with this, the way they've got it set up, if I try to make that turn at, like, you know, 6:30, 7 o'clock, someone's going to try to pass me on the right-hand side, and, you know.
Bad things will happen.
Exactly.
What are your feelings about bicyclists? What do you wish they would do and not do? Maybe that's a better way to ask this question.
I don't know, just a bit more cautious. You know, like, at the end of the day, you know, I'm going to get fired, but they're going to be the ones that are dead, you know? Like, yep. I don't know.
And as I'm sure you've heard, his early start time means he arrives in residential areas while most people living there are still asleep. Recology drivers know this, and Gareth says they are actually trying to be quiet.
How's your hearing after 20 years of doing this?
My hearing?
Yeah.
They test those every year. I used to wear earplugs a lot, well, all the time. But now it's like, I feel like when I wear earplugs, I'm not as cognizant of as much of the noise that I make.
Huh.
So I don't know, I feel like it's better for me to be able to hear how noisy I am, apparently, I guess.
How do you even, okay, like, given what you're doing, how would you even reduce the amount of noise you make?
Well,
you have to move the bins.
Well, the engine in the truck, by itself, it makes a ton of noise. So I try to keep, you know, the revs as low as possible. Like when I'm going into apartments, when I can, I'll carry the can on my back because the wheels are really noisy. You know, especially like on stairs, things like that. I don't know. You just try to not bang them up curbs, and it's not really one thing. I'm doing, you know, really seriously, like everything I can to try and reduce noise, because, you know, when people wake people up, they get angry, and, you know, then they start threatening to change our start time to a later time.
Which you can't do because then you're into traffic.
Some of the areas we go to, if you go there later, it's terrifying. You know, like, you're like, how am I supposed to do this job and not, you know, make sure nothing bad happens? It's kind of so it's just, yeah, you know, noise is a huge thing.
After he's done collecting for the day, as the sun is just starting to come up, we head out to the recycling center to dump out the truck. The center is where everything collected in these trucks is sorted out. Here's how it works. Loaders shuffle the pile around the tipping floor where everything's been dumped to make sure that there's room for the next trucks to empty out. They'll also scoop material into a machine that feeds it into the sorting system at a constant rate. That material is fed up to an initial sort deck where workers are grabbing big and problematic items, things that can't be recycled or could jam up machinery. From there, it's a whirlwind of conveyor belts and complicated machinery snaking up and around each other, and it's all a few stories high. There are a few different sorting machines, including one that separates cardboard, which used to have to be done by hand. I got to see all of this firsthand on a tour in June with Robert Reed, Public Relations Manager for Recology's recycling and composting programs in San Francisco.
And you can see, look at that giant piece of cardboard. What's interesting to me is that when you look at this, you can see a lot of cardboard in that stream. We used to have to pull the cardboard off by hand, but we invested in that cardboard screen from the Netherlands, and so now we have a machine that will separate the cardboard.
Another machine uses spinning discs mounted at an angle to to separate heavy bottles and cans from lighter paper.
I don't know about you, but when I look at that, I get a little vertigo. That's called a spinning disc screen. So it's on an angle, right? It's a series of spinning wheels, and they're on an angle. It temporarily suspends gravity. So you see the material bouncing there? So the lighter material, the paper, goes uphill. The heavier items, the bottles and cans, tumble downhill. So that's how you mechanically separate bottles and cans from paper. You have solar panels on the roof. So they provide, on a sunny day, they provide about 30% of the energy we need to operate the plant. And we have room to add more. So we hope to get to the day when 50% of the energy will be solar.
There's also an optical sorter, which separates plastics from paper.
So the paper goes down, and when it sees a plastic bag of those optical lights, then it hits it with a puff of air and it lifts the plastic bag across the barrier. So this is one of the ways we're separating plastic bags from paper. We have 3 of these machines here. Okay?
And yes, there are robots. Some are programmed to pick through the plastic stream to separate out the different types. Clear clamshell containers from salads or sandwiches go here, bottles from water and sodas go there. At the back of the warehouse, 6 high-density balers bundle materials like cardboard, paper, aluminum cans, steel cans, and plastic water bottles into huge bricks.
And then we stage them back here in this part of the plant. They're stacked up 1, 2, 3, 4. They're stacked up 5 levels high. And then over here is our loading dock. And so we load shipping containers with the bales. So we're the largest shipper of recycled paper on the entire West Coast. And every day, 30 to 40 containers, shipping containers, move out from that loading dock. So the paper goes to a paper mill, the glass goes to a glass plant, the aluminum steel cans go to a foundry, and so on and so forth.
That's where the material is then actually recycled. But I want to linger for a moment on plastics, which I've mentioned in passing. Because while some plastics can be condensed into bales and actually recycled, plastic bags, which are everywhere, currently can't be. And plastic bags are considered a contaminant in some of the materials that Recology can sell. Bags and films can also wrap themselves around sorting equipment. There's one machine that has to be shut down every other day, so mechanics with box knives can cut plastic bags out of it. A lot of effort goes into trying to sort plastic bags out, even once the recyclables have been compressed into bales.
I wanted to show you one thing here. That's a bale of paper. You know what that man's doing? Looking for plastic bags, and when he sees one, he pulls it off the pile, off the bale, and he puts it over there.
There is just so much plastic, and so many new kinds of plastic.
You know how many different kinds of plastic have been introduced in the marketplace?
30 or something.
More than 1,000.
And recycling can't keep pace.
You know, there's many problems associated with plastics, and one of them is that engineers have designed and come up with many different types of plastic. And plastics are difficult to recycle, and you can't mix them together. And some of them are higher quality plastics, but a lot of them are lower quality plastics.
Recology is trying to find a recycler that will actually buy plastic bags and be able to turn them into new products. So here's a somewhat confusing takeaway. Even though right now plastic bags go to the landfill, you should still put them in the blue bin. Why? Well, when we come back, I'll tell you a little bit more about how recycling drivers have managed during the pandemic, and then I'll give you the details on the best way to handle your boxes and bags. We'll be right back. You've been listening to Civic from the San Francisco Public Press. December is soon coming to a close, and with it, News Match. This is the annual campaign to support local newsrooms, which will match your donation, doubling the impact of your giving. You can help maintain a thriving local media ecosystem and keep reporters on our beats by pitching in at sfpublicpress.org/donate. One-time donations pack an extra punch through the end of the year because they'll be matched, and recurring donations sustain us long-term. Thank you so much for your support. Let's hear more from Gareth Willey about working in sanitation during the coronavirus pandemic. Of course, COVID has also meant sanitation workers, who are essential workers, had to stay on the job. And eventually, Gareth started hearing about coworkers who were getting sick. When the pandemic first started, what was that like for you? Like when you started hearing about cases, were you worried about work at all? What was your reaction?
Yeah, I was pretty worried. Like for example, right there at the bottom of those steps, they had like a huge like tray filled with bleach, and we were supposed to step in the bleach, before we went in and used the bathroom or whatever it was. I remember thinking, well, what about all the buildings that I go into? I mean, I'm going to sometimes over 100 buildings a week, and there's no bleach there. Like, I mean, what am I going to do to protect myself? So yeah, I think we were all pretty worried. Happy to have a job, happy to be able to go to work and get a paycheck, but at the same point, like, I think a lot of us just kind of thought we were screwed, like we're going to get this because, I mean, we come in, into so much contact with, things that people touch. And at that point, we were thinking that this was something that we could get from, touching something that could, so yeah, we were all like really, really nervous. But, as time went on, I think we learned a little bit more, but the first couple months, weeks were definitely pretty tough. So.
And then you started hearing about people who you worked with getting infected.
Yeah, the company would send us like a text message every time somebody tested positive, and at one point, like the phone was buzzing like 2-3 times a day, and yeah, it was a little nerve-wracking. But I mean, I don't know. It's we could just kind of put one foot in front of the other. At the end of the day, like we still have to come to work. There's not much choice. Like this job still got the work still got to be done. So we were, we all showed up every day and just did our best. So.
Had you gotten? I mean, we've already talked about that. You did not end up getting COVID.
No, I did not get COVID.
Had you gotten it, are you worried about? Would you have been able to take sick time and stuff like that?
No, not really. Like the union were really good with that. They were communicating with us, telling us exactly what we had and working all that stuff out. So, we had time available to us. If we tested positive or had somebody in our family test positive and we needed to quarantine, and that stuff was explained to us pretty well. So that wasn't so much a worry, at least for me anyway. It might have been for other people, but so.
And now, people are starting to get vaccinated. Is there a sense of, I don't know, relief?
Yeah. For me personally, yeah. I mean, I get my second round on Thursday. I'm looking forward to it. But again, like what we know now, about this virus is it's primarily from face-to-face contact. And I still, like me personally, I start so early. I really don't have much contact with anybody. So I think my risk is pretty low. I'm more likely to catch it, outside of work than at work, I think. So. But pandemic or no, the job has to get done. But I mean, I guess part of this job, it's like no matter what happens, it's like a pandemic, a natural disaster, anything that we're going to be at work the next day. Like if we went a week without picking up garbage here in the city, it would be you'd want to talk about a pandemic. It'd be really crazy.
And Gareth has been doing this work, which is very physically demanding and pretty dangerous, for a long time.
Unfortunately, we had a driver killed about 3 years ago, I believe. And about a year ago, we had one that was severely injured. And it is tough. Like, you got to be really careful.
What's the training like before you can start?
it's I don't know. I guess it's hard to say. I mean, you'll get like, I guess once you start, if you're fresh off the street, you'll probably get maybe like 6-7 weeks training, and it kind of prepares you a little bit, but nothing. You just can't prepare yourself for this. I mean, I feel really bad for the guys coming in. I mean, it's difficult for me, but I know where I'm going, and I've been doing this a long time, and the guys, you know, and gals coming in, yeah, it's tough.
How long have you been doing this?
I've been here about 8 years, but I've been doing it for 21 years, a little over 21. A couple of companies here and there.
All in the Bay Area, or?
Yeah, I worked up in Sacramento for a short period of time, but yeah, pretty much all the companies I work for in the Bay Area, yeah. I kind of tried a few different career choices, and none of them worked out. I always end up back to picking up garbage, so.
What did you try?
I was a cop for a while.
Really?
Yeah. I hated it.
Why?
It just wasn't for me. I was terrible at it. I wanted to let everybody go. I just wasn't very good at it. I don't know.
Not much of an authoritarian, huh?
Yeah.
Do you get a lot of people interested in doing this right now?
What's that?
Do you get a lot of people interested in doing this right now?
This job?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Yeah. I don't know how many applicants we get. I mean, I think if we make more money than most of the other garbage companies in the area, and I think that's probably appealing to some, but we have to do a lot more than, you know, not to say that their job isn't tough in other areas, but they just don't do what we do.
Can you say more about that?
Industry, most of the garbage workers in the industry are driving automated trucks now, and like they work a lot more hours because, I mean, they load the work on, and most of them are working 10 to 12 hours a day, which is pretty rough. So it's exhausting in a different way, because I've done that too. But here it's like you work your shift's much shorter, but I mean, you're pretty banged up by the end of the day, and you know, we're up and down stairs. You know, I think I took one of those little Fitbit things to work just for giggles one day, and I think it said I ran like 12 miles.
Nice.
Well, like I said, it's not for everybody, but I actually enjoy this part of work. Just, you know, just the endorphin dump. You know, you feel good when you're done, assuming that, you know, things go well.
And if you're wondering what residents can do to make life easier for sanitation workers like him,
get a bigger can if you need it. Yeah, cardboard's pretty tough for us. So anything that they can do to you know, just make it easier to just throw in the truck. I mean, like the top of my truck, you know, where I throw it in it's like 6 feet tall. So it's difficult to lift things, you know, up in there, especially when there's a lot of material. So even if they put it in boxes, you know, small boxes, things like that. If you need more bins, we can get you more bins. If you need a bigger bin, we can get you a bigger bin. But I mean, some of these bins are just stacked up, like, you know, they build like walls inside them and stack them like 6, 7, 8 feet tall, and it's almost impossible for me to dump these things like that. Yeah. So it just, you know, even if you have extra, just put it in bags. You know, we can do that.
after he gets his second shot, he has a vacation coming up. But then, as traffic picks back up and workplaces start to reopen, Gareth Willey and other Recology drivers will be back on the road in the early hours, before dawn, wrestling with the cardboard. That was a story from April 2021. Let it serve as a friendly reminder to break down your cardboard. Here's how.
If it'll fit in the bin, then great, but if not, then just leave it off to the side. Rule of thumb, 2-3 feet at the max, but I mean, sometimes it ends up a lot bigger, but it'd be nice if they could keep it to about 2-3 feet.
And when it comes to plastic bags, I know I told you they currently end up in the landfill, so it's best not to use any at all. But if you do have them, you're encouraged to make sure that they're clean and dry, bundle them up in a bag of bags, and then put them in your blue bin anyway. That's because Recology and the city are looking for a way to recycle them after all. A new buyer could appear at some point in the near future, some recycler that has figured out how to cost-effectively produce new materials from old bags and films. So it makes no sense to have everyone unlearn and then relearn to put bags in the recycling. But want to know the one big no-no? And I know that people do this. I got this from Jack Macy, General Waste Senior Coordinator for the Department of the Environment. The thing not to do is gather your mixed recyclables in a plastic bag and then put the plastic bag in the blue bin.
Absolutely do not do that. I think that most of the plastic bags that are going into the blue bin are either loose or are bagging other recyclables. And then you've got a bag holding cans and bottles that can be kind of wet, might have food residue or, soda or beer residue, and that just makes the bags too dirty. We'll never be able to recover those bags.
There you have it. Recycled tips about recycling from the experts. I'm Laura Wennis, and you've been listening to Civic. Civic comes to you from KSFP LP at 102.5 FM in San Francisco. Our theme music is by John Dillon. Our team includes producer and contributor Mel Baker and assistant producer Liana Wilcox. KSFP is a project of the San Francisco Public Press, a nonprofit investigative newsroom. Find our reporting at sfpublicpress.org. Our staff here includes publisher Lila LaHood, executive director Michael Stoll, assistant editor Noah Arroyo, copy chief Kurt Aguilar, photojournalist and reporter Jessica Prado, and reporter Nuala Bashari. Civic airs Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. on KSFP. New episodes every Thursday. Thanks for listening.